r/Askreddit by Robotainment. Anthony Bourdain once said, there's a guy in my head, and all he wants to do is lay in bed all day long, smoke pot, and watch old movies and cartoons. My life is a series of stratagems to avoid and outwit that guy who is that guy for you. And what do you do to avoid him? We came to an agreement and take turns occupying the same body. It's me from 5:30 AM to 5 PM on weekdays, and he gets evenings, weekends and holidays. Fair compromise as long as it stays like that, I say. I used to have a little sign on my desk that said the worst possible feeling is when the person you are meets the person you could have been. It was there to encourage to pursue my goals rather than procrastinate on games, Reddit, etc. I think it's time I dug that sign out again. All that guy wants to do is do Reddit and play video games. I don't do anything to avoid him. Might get buried, but my dude in my head is literally Mr. Spock from Star Trek, and I don't avoid him. Hear me out. I discovered through therapy that I needed a mechanism for judgmentless and objective self-analysis, and Mr. Spock is that dude. He can see the most fucked up space shit ever and react calmly and objectively. Mr. Spock, the massive space blob, has a 97.454% chance of consuming the ship and everyone inside within 47 minutes. Projections show it will be slow and painful. Kirk, that's horrible. Spock, yes, it is not ideal for our continued survival, but its actions are entirely within the nature of the space blob. So, whenever I get spun up on something in my head, I imagine a mini Spock in my head with a science terminal that can pull all data about me. Me, Spock, science report. Spock, data shows that Godspeed Metal is 5.8 days from quitting smoking tobacco and is under great mental distress from the change of chemical intake. He isn't consciously aware of it, but has attempting to make up an excuse to get gas on a half tank in order to create an opportunity to buy a pack of cigarettes. Me, thank you, Spock. Sounds like I'm being dishonest with myself. I suck. Spock, I disagree. It's entirely within the nature of a nicotine addict to seek out a source of nicotine intake. This is neither good or bad, just natural. Data also suggests that conscious awareness mitigates the chances of nicotine intake by 89.45%. Yeah, I've yet to procure a nicotine source as well. Commendable. Just going through that mental exercise will help knock me out of a mental spin up state, help sort out emotions, feelings, all that stuff, into a paused, objective, and most importantly, non-judgmental way. Edit. Holy shit, I'm happy this was received as well as it was. This mechanism has helped myself so much. However, I'd offer a couple of words of advice if you are intending to take on this method as well, because it can be a frustrating mechanism to employ if you don't have your expectations set correctly. 1. Spock's reports will be amended, appended, referenced and reworked entirely. This is all part of the process. Even Spock had several times where extended analysis was needed to understand something in order to create a way to copy of Akimiwathabeau. Don't treat everything he says as immutable truth. His analysis is only as good as the data he is able to receive through that mental science terminal. Your initial reports will upgrade that terminal for stronger analysis in the future. 2. You will fail as well, and that's totally okay. Has analyzed far more for me than just smoking. Everything from anxiety, struggles with work, and interpersonal relationships has been reviewed through that science terminal. But sticking with the smoking report as an example, recognizing that getting gas was just an excuse to get cigarettes didn't come from a single analysis, but was referenced from a prior science report, as at one point I had quit smoking, went to get gas a few days later, and drove away with a pack of cigs in my pocket. Spock reported. Godspeed Metal formulated a reason to create an environment that allowed his weakened will to procure a source of nicotine. Further analysis shows that nicotine addiction is extremely subversive to Godspeed Metal's psyche at a subconscious level. The strength of control the addiction exerts upon his mind is quite strong. Fascinating. Spock doesn't judge me. It all is what it is, and I respond. That is fascinating. My mind is stranger than I ever thought possible. However, I'm more in control because I now recognize this pattern of behavior. I believe that this can be identified at a later point. If I do this again, thank you, Spock. That failure to stop smoking at that time was an opportunity to learn about myself, and FYI, I'm several months smoke free and still going. 3. This isn't to make someone an emotionless logic machine either. Spock understands human nature is an emotional experience. Humans get horny, sad, happy, angry, depressed, excited, all of that stuff. That comprises a human condition. It's all part of the logic of being human. Take that into account. Yet strive to be aware of your humanity and make conscious decisions on what you do instead of subconsciously reacting emotionally. 4. Trust your intuition. Your instincts have been developed over millions of years of evolution. Your mind is powerful and can subconsciously recognize threats and boons to your world and yourself, even if you don't understand why your guts are acting the way they are. Don't dismiss it. Run it by Spock, and if you don't come to a satisfactory answer, you can always revisit later when you have more experience, time, and data. This is the best self-care strategy I've ever heard of. That guy wants to settle for anything out of fear of nothing better coming later. That guy is okay with the dead-end job, the abusive relationships, and no master's degree. I tell that guy it's never gotten me anywhere. It's the definition of stuck, and I have no intention of being stuck anymore. The guy who wants to go streaking during the Super Bowl halftime show. I avoid him by remembering that prison is not a pleasant place to be. You'll only go to prison if you get CAU. Wait, wrong comments section. I have the exact same guy in my head. I quit smoking pot years ago. Before I hit 30 I can still stay in bed all day on some days. What keeps me from doing it? Having a 24H lane on my laptop. Too often are commitments I've made to myself, friends, and employers. Back in the day pot made it really easy to give up on those commitments. I miss pot, but I don't miss those times in general, which keeps me from going back. Precisely. You've said it very well. For me at least, getting high just made me very content with doing absolutely nothing, which is fine sometimes, but I was high all the time and then doing nothing all the time. I was so bored and boring to myself that I had to quit smoking and other drugs completely. It's only been a few years. It still feels like a work in progress, but I'm getting happier with who I am. Bold of you to assume I avoid him. My whole life is a series of stratagems to enable that guy to spend as much time in bed watching cartoons as he can without ending up homeless or unable to pay for weed. I have chronic severe depression, going 25 years now. It's not completely clear what I have, but it comes and goes. Not sad, not bipolar, not MDD. We simply don't know, and medication doesn't work. However, it's never really gone. It's more like manageable or unmanageable. The voice is either telling me I should lie down and just give up, or it's telling me that soon I will be lying down and giving up again. My manageable moments are obviously filled with as much joy as I can pack in there, and every night before going to bed I tell the voice to suck it. Today was my day, not yours. When it's unmanageable and the voice tells me to give up, I try to fight him as long as I can, and when I start to agree with him, I always manage to end it with "but not today." It's kept me alive for this long. I hope I can keep going like this for a while. It used to be eat cheap pizza, chain smoke, and play video games. I changed a lot of those habits to healthier ones. Goddamn, I miss smoking 6+ years smoke free, and I still crave it as much as the day I quit. I'll let her out and feed her once in a while. That way she lets me get on with my life. Don't you ever tame your demons, but always keep them on a leash. Arsonists Lalabia pointy out of .com link. Hosier, edit, added link. Don't you ever tame your demons, but always keep them on a leash. I like the arsonists. Maybe some people should tame their demons. I accept that she exists and love her back to health. I relate to this. The girl in my head is constantly trying to get out of doing things. Everything like going to work, going to school, socializing, etc. Anything besides sitting at home in my chair, smoking a joint, and watching some coming of age drama comedy. I have to force myself every day to do all the stuff that being an adult human requires of me. It's hard. I think almost everyone feels this way. The guy in my head not letting me lay in bed all day smoking pot and watching cartoons. Closes Pornhub. I don't know what you're talking about. I figure that I may as well share about my guy. My guy hates me, and what little bit of a life I've built for myself, the guy in me just wants to lay in bed all day, every single day, until I age out. And I don't even get me started on the other thing the guy wants to do to me. And, yeah, it's pretty similar to Bourdain's in terms of its other cravings. To fight back, I try listening to music that fits my emotions at the moment. I try keeping my hands busy, and luckily I enjoy cooking. Deck building for Magic the Gathering can also help. I try to be creative and draw more. I try to exercise. I go out and tell jokes at open mics. I try to do everything that my guy doesn't want me to do. I want to be better than the guy that my guy wants me to be. He does have a grip on me most days, but I try my hardest to get out of it. That guy wants to die, unsure how to avoid him. Copious amounts of caffeine seems to do okay. Hope everything is going okay, man. It's okay if it's not PM. If you want to, I'm no stranger to that sort of feeling. But we are both commenting here, so we certainly haven't lost yet. That girl is depression. She's definitely starting to kick my ass now. All she wants to do is lay in bed, self-harm, and cry. I take my medications and persevere, but it's difficult. The guy in my head wants to lay in my pillow top bed with soft sheets, my Buffy blanket, memory foam pillows, and sleep 18 hours a day and hide from everyone. Punctuated by gorging myself on good taquiat food, getting raving drunk, and just watch endless history documentaries and plan travel trips for next year. If that's all I did, I would also probably take up smoking pot again too. I just wanna grill, for God's sake. That guy is me. Literally what I do all the time: smoke and chill. Too much anxiety outside of my normal routines. The one that wants to do something drastic to qualify for social security disability and then, jobless, lounge around all day drinking beer, watching whatever, and roaming around GTA 5 as I eat the government cheese. My ex did this, thought he fooled the system, substituted Fentanyl for the beer, though Hez no longer with us. Keeping busy keeps some people out of trouble. Just remind that in a guy, that disability is actually pretty hard to get. I have 3 separate major diseases, one of which gives me several weekly seizures, and was told no. I just had an appeal hearing last month, after waiting 2 years for it. That guy for me is someone who is constantly grumpy, never wants to get out of pajamas, and loves being drunk and high. To avoid said guy, I make a conscious effort to stay productive, motivate myself, and never drink alone. He just wants to win the lottery and sit on his couch watching dark comedies, drinking until it kills him. I avoid this by remembering that my mother would be very sad if that happened, and that I want to love someone, like really be in love, at least one more time before I go. Why try to outwit and avoid that guy? My goal in life is to find a way to sustain the lifestyle that guy suggests. The only reason I even do any of that other ambitious stuff is so that I can do all the nothing I want. Bill Watterson wasn't exactly saying what Bourdain's head guy was, but he had a good middle ground. Philosophies and pencils. Point commingling between complete slacker and crazy Steve Jobs as a seer mentality. I don't know if he'd listened to life advice from a guy that killed himself. Maybe he should have listened to that guy on the inside a little more. Sorted by controversial, hoping someone here would have the good sense to say this. For me, that girl wants to be a stay-at-home mom who sells MLM and drinks a PSL with her jogging buddies, but I work, cook amazing meals and hunt bakuas. I know I won't truly be happy if I gave up the empowerment of making my own money and truly enjoying the things I want. I totally feel this. Sometimes I see the stay-at-home moms hanging out in their athleisure at the Panorama near my house, and I envy their relative freedom, but I know ultimately it would be a bad life choice for me. Anthony Bourdain also fucking hung himself. Don't avoid and outwit that guy. That guy can't be your whole life, but spending your whole life denying yourself basic pleasures is a great way to end up killing yourself through either suicide or stress. I don't outwit that guy, and as such have not committed suicide. I don't avoid him. I love movies. Some of the best times I've had are with friends. Some weed and laughing at movies or experience. Then what's wrong with mellowing out and have some chill time? Why does everyone have to be ambitious and driven? Not to mention this comes from a guy, and I do mean no disrespect, who killed himself. Absolutely nothing wrong with your perspective. Bourdain grew up in a successful family that no doubt pressured him to be successful, so it's okay to just be a consumer and not a creator. It's okay to want to just chill instead of climbing a mountain, as long as you're healthy and not hurting anyone. Do what makes you happy. That girl does a lot of partying and is a free bird flying, but this woman's kids keep her grounded and at home. I'm that guy a lot of the time. I used to be super productive and stress out over work. I think Bourdain may still be alive if he would have spent more time doing nothing instead of trying to catch the next thing all the time with strangers. Oh, I'm supposed to avoid him. Oof. Poor Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace. Same thing as Tony described. I used to take lots of Adderall to chain that mofo down. Has what I call the devil, but really has just depression and anxiety due to BS like existentialism. Anyways, treat yourself well. Even the demons fear part of you too. True healing doesn't come from pills. I found that out the hard way. Like and subscribe for good luck, you handsome gentleman.